Assalamu alaikum, welcome to Islam 21C's podcast. I am Omar Suleiman and this is Dr. Salman Butt.
I'll give it a 7 out of 10.
That was like the fourth time, yar.
So they don't know that. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. This is how it's done. We're broadcasting this, we're recording this from Leicester, sunny Leicester, the studios of Ramadan.fm. We have Adil Ali, aka Grandad, with us today, stepping in for Umar Suleiman. We're testing him out as a new co-host. And in order to help test Adil, we happened to find Sh Sajid Umar wandering about. So we grabbed him to help us test Adil out. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Wa alaikum assalam. I've just managed to stop laughing.
How are you, Sheikh?
Allah's most kind. How are you?
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Well, how do you think Adil's doing right now?
10 out of 10, right, Sheikh?
9 out of 10.
9.
There's always room for improvement. That's why. But it's 9 out of 10.
He's all about, mashallah, growing and transforming.
I have his back.
Growing. I've got that on T. Growing.
You need to speak into the mic, bro.
Speaking into the mic, okay.
Okay, so we thought we'd test Adil out. We give him a bit of an experiment. He's created a short little psychometric test for you, Sheikh.
Psychometric?
Yeah. So
you guys should have told me that on
it's unscripted.
Evington Road when you were picking me up.
It's unscripted.
Okay.
So you look a bit nervous, but don't worry. Anything that will get you in trouble, we'll make sure we delete it and send it straight to the authorities.
All right, shall I go?
Yeah, go, bismillah.
Straight to the authorities.
Right. Round 1, fight.
Round 1. Red or blue?
Bismillah. Go ahead.
Red or blue?
Red.
Yellow or green?
Green.
Cold or hot?
Cold.
Coke or Pepsi?
None.
Knack or menk?
Sorry?
Men or women?
I don't know.
Trump or Boris?
Allah knows best.
Lamb or chicken?
Lamb.
Rice or chips?
Rice.
Next question.
Mortal Kombat or Street
من
Fighter?
كان يؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر فليقل خيرا أو ليصمت.
A modern translation of that would be whoever would like not to get arrested.
Okay, chicken or lamb?
You asked me that.
That was in the perv.
No, it was this one.
This
is the first time we're doing this out there.
Oh yeah, yes it is the first time.
And I said lamb, unless you're
right.
testing my honesty.
Al-Kawthar al-Maghrib.
في كل خير.
MashaAllah. Diplomacy.
Okay, I'm done.
You're done?
I'm done.
I can't believe you asked me some of those questions, by the way.
Okay, no, I've got some more if you want me to continue.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't really. I was just saying that. I was too much to say no.
Well, it's your test, bro. It's your audition, bro. So let us know in the comments how you think Adil did. Now that we've got that out of the way, how about we talk about Sh Sajid Umar? How are you?
Alhamdulillah.
What brings you to the UK this time round? We're in your hometown, mashallah,
Yes,
Leicester Sharif.
thank you for coming up.
It's always a pleasure.
Yeah. Well, I'm here for a series of objectives. Community development, of course. Maintenance of family relations as well. Spent a good couple of days, alhamdulillah, visiting family.
Alhamdulillah.
So basically,
In fact, this podcast is taking me away from that.
Ooh.
Nah, but
it's all khair, right, Sheikh?
there's goodness in it, and I sought permission. To work on my day off.
Alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah. Allahu Akbar.
This is not work though, this is play for Sh Sajid, mashallah.
MashaAllah.
He visits us often, alhamdulillah. We thought we'd pay you a visit.
Alhamdulillah, barakallahu feek. Honestly, I'm firstly honored. Secondly, it was I was excited. I was like waiting for your Eid present, waiting for you guys to come.
MashaAllah.
Alhamdulillah, really nice to give you all a hug.
I was listening to some of our previous big discussions in the past, knowing to growing, and another one
from knowing to growing, and
how has the internet affected fiqh? We did that one as well, alhamdulillah. But I don't know if you've been following some social media kind of controversies recently. We're discussing these with the brothers as well, and get some of your. I don't want to give too many words or names away, but are you aware there's been some controversies with,
I can help you out. Basically, it's about maybe some people living two lives, maybe, being one person one day, being a different person another day, putting on a facade about who they really are.
I mean, I haven't been following
I'm lost.
on the. No, I'm not lost. Only because I have some vibrant students who screenshot things and screenshot. Is that okay?
I think it's screenshot things, no?
Screenshot would be maybe the
Plural screenshot.
Why the plural?
The fi'l mudari'.
So it's been brought to my attention, and obviously there's a lot going on in our own lives to try and keep up with everything going along online. But I think I have the framework of what you're talking about.
So Sheikh, just to start off, are you on social media?
I am.
So you have your Facebook account, you have a YouTube account, you're on Instagram?
Sheikh has
I am.
many accounts.
This sounds like interrogation.
Where were you on the night of the 26th?
I do, but to post, not to follow. It's difficult to follow.
So what happens if someone said that if you've got all these tools and you're on the media, and that's the actual problem?
Ooh.
So are you not a part of the problem? Because I know, mashallah, I've listened to many of your lectures, attended many of your lectures, mashallah, tabarakallah. It's very positive. It's about change. It's about making positive change in communities. And we always talk about issues to do with social media, issues to do with people coming onto platforms unqualified, or if they're doing it for the wrong reasons, to get fame, to get money, maybe women, etc., etc. But if you're on those platforms, are you not a part of the problem?
Those platforms have parts that are part of the solution as well. So I'm trying to...
so it's not black and white.
I'm trying to inhabit the solution part of social media. Nothing is really... I mean, very few things are black and white. Let's be honest. And to be stereotyped about the conclusion doesn't give it justice. But from a fiqh perspective, and this is where we got to look at it now, that there is good, but there is bad. But what percentage is good and what percentage is bad? And also, how much benefit of the doubt should we give to people who get onto these platforms for the sake of learning, right? How much benefit
for learning or teaching?
No, for the sake of...
Because it's two different ones, right?
True.
Some people come on social media to learn,
Yeah.
but some people come into social media to teach, right? So I could open up a YouTube channel or go into a really popular podcast and start talking and make myself really famous, and then all of a sudden I'm giving my view on this sheikh, that sheikh.
Yeah, well,
I'm giving my view on this or that.
You're getting for yourself some screen time, bro. You're getting for yourself
I'm trying. I might as well. Everyone else is doing it.
Touch points.
So how many followers do you have on social media, Adil?
If my wife signed up, I've got one so far.
MashaAllah.
Guess how many sheikhs has?
No, but look, there's two sides. You're absolutely right. Benefit and harm from the side of the follower and from the side of the giver.
Yeah.
But focusing on the follower, right? Many people get on to learn. But should we be giving them the benefit of the doubt? Because clearly they tend to tread the path of harm. Even though there's some good. From a Sharia perspective, if you have good and bad in an aspect,
Yeah.
and the harm outweighs the good, then the Sharia says the good in it shouldn't be considered. And the entire matter should be left aside. Dar'ul mafsada muqaddam ala jalbil maslaha. This is the Arabic term of the fiqh principle. Right? So prevention of a harm takes precedence over the attainment of a benefit. Right? So a lot of people who might have gone onto social media for the sake of learning, they didn't have the tools, the skill sets to choose the avenues of learning. Right? So anyone who appeared to be someone who's teaching Islam became a school for them. And this is,
there's loads of issues with social media generally.
Of course,
right.
I think this is through observation, and there's stats on it now, there's statistics on it in terms of depression that comes about from social media, in terms of dopamine addiction that comes into the minds of our young from social media and all the other stuff. And this is from the physical aspect. Then we're talking about the Sharia aspect as well.
So if we go back to the physical aspect just now, so we're talking about when someone's got, say, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 followers, but they don't really know who they are. Or, for example, they go online, they've got 1,000 friends, 2,000 friends, 100,000 friends, but really and truly they don't know who they are. And they're really and truly just putting out content so they get acceptance from random people who they're not or may not never actually meet.
This is
this what we're talking about?
Click. Yeah.
You mean from the physical side? Yes, of course. And like he said, click my lunch, click my dinner.
From the Sharia perspective, is there anything
how many
wrong?
desserts have you clicked? Yeah. But the good thing is you don't put them online.
Double tacked.
Yeah, I didn't put them online, but now watch out. Food block.
Yeah.
Food block.
It requires you to not eat the food before you take a picture. That's where our issue is, I think, really, historically.
I mean, how's
normally
Mahmoud,
everyone's like one second, and
managing not to laugh in all of this. Allah bless you all.
So going back to the Sharia perspective, is there anything wrong with that? Can I not find acceptance on social media? I'm not going and, you know, meeting up with people, but, you know, I'm creating a second world where I have friends, I can communicate, I can discuss things. They can be men, they can be women. It doesn't matter. I'm not meeting them physically.
Look, let's say you took a picture of your lunch. You went to the park and you started showing your lunch to every stranger out there.
Do you like my lunch?
I mean, this is what I had for lunch. What do you think they'll tell you? They'll probably think you a bit, you're a lunatic. Right?
Maybe.
Right? They think this person's a bit crazy.
Yeah.
Who's this person who I don't know, random person coming up to me, showing me his lunch, right?
Yeah.
That's basically what you do online. You tell people who don't care about your issues, who don't care about what you ate, who don't care about where you're holidaying, about, you know.
But
they like the picture. They like the picture.
To play devil's advocate here, the social media algorithm will show it to people that are likely to click or react to it.
I mean, that's a different discussion, and there's clearly a type of, I don't want to say institutionalized, but to be honest, even from an Islamic perspective, I mean, you know, my specialty is fiqh and usul, right? Islamic jurisprudence and jurisprudence methodology. You could actually create a new madhab. Google can create his or her, depending on what gender you give to Google, right?
No, it doesn't have a gender. It's
non-binary.
There we go, non-binary.
Artificial intelligence can create its own fiqh madhab, right?
Interesting.
It can, because when you go online and you search for something, right, through the algorithms that you've mentioned, it can pick which website it brings up to you for your review or for your viewing, right?
Absolutely.
So that danger is definitely there as well.
I mean, anything you want to learn now, normally people just Google it.
Definitely.
Max Stossel, he did some researcher. He did some an experiment with his friends. Yeah, he asked two friends the same question, right? But they got radically different answers because they both Googled it and they both had different kind of political leanings and psychological kind of personality profiles and stuff. So he asked the question, how many immigrants in Europe commit crimes?
Okay.
Yeah. So that's quite a polarizing question for some people. So for one person, when he Googled it or she Googled it, they got back all these Daily Mail, you know, Fox News kind of sensationalist stories about, you know, zooming in on immigrants that commit crimes. Reinforcing that person worldview of, you know, some kind of suspicion to see immigrants through. But the other person, they got a bit more, you know, statistically significant results saying, okay, actually immigrants commit like 0.01% of crimes or whatever.
Interesting.
So that person, two people, because of the Google algorithms, got two radically different answers to the same question because of what Google knows about their personality, what they're more likely to.
That's scary stuff, right? So this is artificial.
But the same thing happened now. Yeah, the same thing could be happening to Muslims.
Look, it is happening, and look, I didn't know about the stats, but through my own personal journey with social media, when you hit that search button, like take Instagram for example, are we allowed to mention that?
Yeah,
Instagram.
Instagram, all right. So
I'll Google what it means.
You hit
later.
the search button and it brings a series of different photo feeds, video feeds.
Yeah, but Sheikh, you said
and I'm thinking to myself, why these feeds?
Yeah, but Sheikh, you got to be careful
I'm
because
following 0 people on
the algorithm. What they would say is the algorithms that actually work are only algorithms which take information that you've put into the search engines, information that you've done. So to be honest, if you're looking at things, what's the big issue? Everything that comes up on your screen is actually taken from information that you've done, right? They're just selling you stuff that you'd like. Why are we complaining that they're trying to make our life
even though
easy?
you've never clicked like on anything, your phone, which is a Android, right? I'm pretty sure.
Why did you have to highlight that?
I'm pretty sure because this is only for Android. I think it's only for Android, but pretty sure for these apps, you're given Google permission in downloading these apps to look at other apps on your phone, to look at your search history, to look at your YouTube history, to build a personality profile of yourself that it thinks this is what the kind of stuff you like.
I must be pretty boring analysis for that algorithm. But look, it is what it is, right? It is what it is. And no doubt,
maybe we should be using it. That's an argument for that. We should be using
Snowden pitched this at the end of his book, Nowhere to Hide. Right? It's an issue of people doing a moral check. He mentions this, that through his own discussions, people say, well, you know what, I got nothing to hide, so who cares? It makes my life easy. It's an issue of convenience, and no doubt. The corporations that have invested heavily into this, their goal was probably not to spy. Their goal was to make life easier, make money as well. But also the value add was to make things easier, right? Gather information and allow those who want to sell to do their thing, and reach people who are looking for them anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So say for example, Sheikh, I'm listening to a lecture of yours on YouTube. I put your name in. I've watched one video. They're going to show me another video of yours. So that's khair, right? I'm getting shown more videos of speakers giving Islamic lectures.
But the issue comes in when there's abuse, right? When there's a paradigm shift, when there's a value shift, right? Where opportunities come in. Now people say, you know what, that's a massive amount of information. We could use that for other things, right? And this is where the difficulty comes in. But from the Islamic side, in terms of the social media couple you highlighted that was brought to my attention.
I didn't highlight no couple, Sheikh. I just gave you an example.
Well, that's what I understood. I understood from it. Look, at the end of the day, I have a lot of views about that, by the way. As I said, it came to me through vibrant students that I have and screenshots that were taken.
Concerned students.
You're talking about Batman.
As a sheikh,
they concern students, but also in the process. My advice to everyone who sent this to me was don't spread it. This is sheikh, it's everywhere, right? Because from the outset, we shouldn't spread people's sins. Well, okay, these people were out there spreading it.
It's still
gossip, etc.
Yeah.
But if you're going to share something about your fellow Muslim brother or sister, share it with the insincere intention of mitigating harm or preventing harm and bringing about good, right? So I put out a post trying to reach out or get some details about the brother involved. And the only reason, what instigated me to do that was when information got to me that he had some agnostic beliefs. This is what was put out there. My concern immediately was his iman. That through all this turbulence, right, we need to get through to him for the sake of managing matters of his iman.
So Sheikh,
forget all the drama.
Did you private PM him?
Look, I wasn't successful in getting his details, right? But I did contact Moshai and Du'at in London who are involved and did share this message that, guys, look, aside of the drama, it is becoming a drama, aside of the approaches of certain groups to try and deal with this, we should focus on protection of the iman of the brother, of the sister, or the sisters involved, and so on and so forth. At least that effort needs to be there as well.
I think this kind of stuff is just going to happen more and more because of the nature of social media itself. It thrives on scandal. It thrives on, sensationalist kind of thing. And then people create content in order to grab some of that.
That's exactly what I was saying. That attraction and grab that attention from the people. It used to exist in the past as well. I mean,
through television, though.
Yeah, exactly. So we're from a generation that might not have grown up with YouTube and Facebook, etc. So we never had the issue of trying to be accepted
You're quite
in a
young,
world
by
that
the way.
we are.
You're not that old, right? You are young. Just let the viewers know.
Very young.
And the listeners,
very young.
of course.
Mentally and physically.
I mean, you sound like my parents' generation.
No.
That generation.
No. I mean, come on. When we were young, phones just got introduced when we were young, right?
Yeah. And they were just for drug dealing.
I mean, Sheikh.
They were called dumb phones. They were called dumb phones. Dumb phones.
Dumb phones.
Yeah.
Okay. I
but
don't know
smartphones came later, right?
Yeah. Dumb phones. Okay.
Dumb phones.
Got it.
But the thing is, there's an argument.
Yeah. I was waiting for him to do the sound effect, but he didn't do it anyway.
Which one? What was that again?
I'm not going to imitate. No, okay, but no, seriously, I'm going on the back to the point, right? So we had an issue. We've had an issue where when the dawah was kind of corporatized, when corporate organizations kind of came into the dawah field and they turned it into a more corporate field, we had an issue where people were now having to have an image, a corporate image, a bigger image than they might have had previously. So we had a lot of students attending a lot of courses, and from those courses, what they would do is they would put,
some courses that Adil organised himself. Probably. Some courses which they attend, and then amongst their circle of friends or circle of influence, they can brag, boast, they can
create an image with the people, right? So maybe 5 people, maybe 10 people, maybe carry a few books, and people think that they're studying these books in Arabic and whatnot. So they gain popularity to that circle that they could reach at that time. And what's happened now is with the introduction of social media, it's extrapolated. So now we've got people who have got the same disease in the heart. Exactly. Same disease in the heart, but now it's amplified. So now we've got people going to lectures, and the whole purpose of going to the lecture is to get that sound bite, to get that one line, and then put it onto social media that, oh, did you know Sheikh so-and-so,
Is
Imam
that a bad
Ghazali
thing,
so-and-so
though?
said this?
But we shouldn't be we should not be stereotyped about this, right?
I'm not saying everyone.
Go into people's intentions, but media, especially when you become a news outlet, it's all about, take the Ramadan moon announcement, for example, right? Everybody wants to announce it first, and even the brother just outside the room, if he's listening, we won't mention names, but it's all about who can get that information first. We're becoming like the news channels right now. Someone who was tasked is in a very important PR program, so he was tasked with bringing some of the important news channels for some official announcement from an official representation in a country. He brought them in, and he was shocked to see how every one of these channels and the major news channel outlets, their representatives, were pre-typing possible lines that they thought would meet the announcement that will be made, just so that they could hit that enter button and be first online.
But that can't be too hard, right? It's either Eid Mubarak or it's not Eid Mubarak.
No, this has got nothing to do with the moon thing.
That's just show business, Sheikh.
Yeah, but this is what's happening. Being there first. It's first to market. It's not just for product now. It's for information as well. Information has become a product. Anything that you make a product can become commercialized. Right, can become monetized, right? Okay. And you're talking about the da'wah. We don't want to say sickness in the hearts. I think people were sincere when they started in the space. But with everything that gets attention, then somehow, somewhere, shaitan brings the money aspect to it. And fame. Greater than money is the fame. Right? That so and such brother, such and sister is known for bringing Sheikh Fulan in, and this is how it starts, right? And then you take it upon yourself to deliver. Some people get caught up.
But isn't fame a necessary evil?
Unnecessary
evil. Some people have to be famous.
In my reading, look, that's true. That's true. Fame is a tool, like money is a tool. Right? It can be used for the right reasons.
Shall we go back?
For the wrong reasons.
Shall we just go back to that? Finish the point, Sheikh, because I'm really interested in understanding how you're going to end the point. Because I don't see a difference of how it's not a sickness of the heart. That you go onto social media, you practice Islam, so you can show that you're practicing, rather than coming closer to Allah.
If you're not careful, once the intention changes, that's the sickness you're talking about. There's been a shift in the intention. Right, so
but you don't even know that for certain.
But obviously we can't be blind, right? We're not going to say that everyone is sincere.
Everyone struggles with sincerity and stuff, but
but the thing is, if you do something for the sake of da'wah, then it becomes doing something for the sake of growing followers.
Yeah,
there's a clear fundamental shift in intention.
Isn't there? Someone could argue, playing devil's advocate here, not to call them devils or anything, but someone could argue we need Muslim YouTube stars. We need Muslim celebrities. We need Muslim sports people. We need Muslim artists or whatever.
People who are famous. I think we do.
People who are celebrities. They have the fame. They have that reach. But they have, their heads screwed on as well. That they know they have certain guidelines. They know.
So what are we discussing this from? Which angle are we discussing?
So is just doing something
guidance? Is this doing some guidance angle?
So doing something therefore for someone to grow their fame online, right? I would much rather that somebody with some.
I'm giving people benefit of the doubt that they're not doing it to grow fame.
But even if they
are, somehow they're growing fame
in order to have a larger impact. Or in order to divert young people, impressionable people, away from clearly negative role models.
Explain to me how this cannot be the case when I will come on social media and tell you every aspect of my life for no beneficial, like taking a snapshot of my lunch, telling you that I went to this lecture. I benefit from the lecture, from knowledge. Yeah, people start following me. People want to know about my life, right? We're social animals. We want to know exactly what's going on with other people.
And I would much rather
watching other people have a conversation.
Yeah, and I would much rather the people who people are imitating and following are people who have some kind of ethics, have some kind of general Islamic.
But you can't guarantee that they will. You can't guarantee that they will, and this is the issue. You know, when you brought up how the couple you mentioned to lead us into the discussion.
I didn't mention no couple, by the way. I'm just putting out there.
Or the latest drama, or the drama that Salman.
Batman. I don't know why you're saying Batman.
The drama that's Salman titled it as a drama. That is the actual issue. That the person who went on. I think what's happening is the discussion's overflowing because you have the angle of those who give and the angles of those who take. Those who take, they went on for specific reasons, right?
Okay, yeah, I think we're in agreement.
I don't talk about just individual
there was no
people.
filter. There was no filter. No, a lot of people tell me this. I mean, people even, you know, the bottom line is there was no guidelines. There was no framework that, you know, Sheikh Fulan, Group Fulan, Account Fulan, these are the accounts you're going to learn your deen from. Right. Yeah. Also, we must remember
that's happening anyway.
So this is where I'm saying, without a framework, the harm outweighs the good, and we've seen that, right? Because, and also this whole concept of I am going to learn, but I'm forced to see a news feed. On this news feed, there's other interesting stuff.
Yeah.
So the first date was out of interest, the second was out of interest, the second week was out of interest. Then what? It became habit.
Yeah.
So that harm is there as well.
But in an ideal situation, Sheikh, sorry to cut you off. You'd think ideally, yes, the young people, they should be coming to mosques and institutions of learning and that kind of stuff to learn their deen. But the truth of the matter is, young people, many the majority are not going and learning their deen from the mosques. But
that is the truth.
Therefore, don't we need Muslimness to be, or Islamic Muslims to be in the spaces where they are, Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook,
it's true. Look, you know what? To be honest, I'm on these platforms as well.
Yeah.
Right.
I just noticed. Do you know how many followers Sheikh has on Facebook? Want to guess?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I mean, it's about the value creation, and I consider those the people following.
It's good to have a impact.
No, the thing is, I consider those people following a test for me, and I consider myself a test for them.
I was actually going to have one of the questions was going to be.
I thought you were going to say I was actually going to follow your account, Sheikh.
No, I'm not on Facebook.
All right.
I'm not on Facebook. See? Piety.
Is that the granddad? Is that why he's granddad?
He has his fake accounts.
I was going to say that 10 students or 1 million followers. You could impact 1 million people on the live feed, or do you want 10 students in a masjid?
I think the impact is different. You will create greater impact with 10 people in a structured way, with a structured curriculum, in a masjid, than 1 million people randomly learning from you online. That's a definite. That's common sense. Randomly. Anyone who studies andragogy, pedagogy, it's scientific, right? It's a lot of theory on this. There's stats on it. There's studies on it. The science of it is overwhelming. You're not going to. Yeah. You can inspire.
However, it's a bit
you can inspire, but you're not going to take them from point 0 to point 1. Transformation has a process. You can't get to the top of the mountain just by looking at the mountain or flicking through a feed. You got to climb the mountain.
Sheikh Sajid's got a very good series, Transformers. Check it out online, inshallah. It's a very good series.
Yeah. Inshallah.
Yeah, no, look, you know, you're talking about bringing the youth to the masjid, and the youth are not in the masjid. And when I have these local tours, this question is asked, you know, from the masjids, what do you think we can do to improve? And I like speaking to the imams directly because I think fiqh mandates that. We shouldn't be speaking over their voices to their communities. But in the same breath, and this is from the fitan, the corruption of social media, right? You're getting some learned people of the religion who are becoming superstars, right?
Yeah. Learned people of the religion, right?
They learn it in Islam, they've studied Islam, and them becoming superstars, you know, anyone with common sense will tell you that them becoming superstars doesn't mean that they have knowledge of every matter, in every sphere, in every case, right? They're knowledgeable about it, but it doesn't mean that they're the most knowledgeable. Unfortunately, in the polarized, or should I say, desensitized 21st century world that we live in, your value is based on followership or based on money, you know, based on the amount of money you have or how rich your organization is or how many followers you have.
But it could be based on the fact that that's all I know. So for example, if I only know A, B, anyone who knows A, B, C, D for me is going to look really knowledgeable. But obviously someone who knows the whole alphabet is someone who's basic.
And that's amongst the scholarly circles. They say only a dentist knows how good a dentist is. I could go to the dentist or a doctor. A doctor knows how good another doctor is, right? But that aside, Fulan is becoming famous. He's becoming a following, right? Yeah. The community that the Imam has is online, right? Yeah. And the community finds Sheikh Fulan appealing. right? So that community, they don't know better. They're going to give Sheikh Fulan online a louder voice than my own Sheikh on site, right? So one of the...
but Sheikh, you're assuming they've actually got a Sheikh on site, or they have access to a Sheikh.
This is the point.
The local imam.
The local imam. But this is the point. This is why I've been speaking to different imams on site that, listen, imam, no doubt Allah has given you a greater right to your community. That greater right is an amana and trust on you, right? The world we live in needs you to also transform. It needs you to speak, walk the talk and walk the walk and talk the talk and speak the lingo, etc., etc., etc. You got to up your vernacular. You got to up your speech patterns. How you get the necessary training. How to address the youth. How to bring yourself into the online space, right? Because at the end of the day, if you lose the trust of your congregation and someone online who has no issue in terms of when I say issue, I mean, look, the local imam, he is tiring himself with his congregation day in, day out. Their marriage issues, their divorce issues. The online sheikh, you shoot him an email, he's really going to respond to you. He's really going to respond to you. Let's be honest. I get a lot of emails. I find it difficult to respond.
So would you? But people who are on social media, people who are on social media, they make time for their followers. They'll come onto YouTube. They'll do a live thingy where they're live and they're answering stuff like when questions are asked. So they make time for them, right? So if I'm making time for someone, I'm giving them what they need, then surely they're going to follow me. They're going to take me as someone. Where are the Moshai doing that? Where are the Moshai doing that to provide us the guidance?
Actors and actresses are doing that as well.
Yeah.
If you want to learn something, there's a process, right?
What's the process?
Even if I make time for people online, who said I'm the right person for them to be learning from?
Okay, good.
Right?
So how do we define who the right person is?
Isn't this the future of the way people interact now?
It is the future, and that's why I think, and obviously we're framing this around the Islamic side. And sorry to cut you off, Dr. Salman.
No.
Can I mention your second name?
Yeah.
Right? Because I saw you put up a post and someone was actually questioning your second name, and I thought, subhanAllah.
Yeah. You should really put your real name on social media.
This is from the corruption of social media. That someone actually thought your actual name's a stage name.
My real name, Rushdie, was can't use that anymore.
Coming to the point. The point is that this is where the guy, those who are seen to have the religious presence online, this is where they need to framework themselves, right? Yeah. And not just post stuff without looking at the principles of da'wah. Yeah. Right? I think because the principles of da'wah is based on the Quran and the Sunnah, and it wasn't locked in time. It was timeless. It applies in the 21st century with the social media presence that amplifies the harm of not following the principles of da'wah. Yeah. When the scholars laid down these principles, it was to mitigate or avoid harm when doing da'wah on the ground, right? Yeah. And that harm would be controlled. But social media that globalizes everything, that takes what's happening.
Can you just give an example of that so our listeners can kind of contextualize?
I have so many. I mean, one
dealing
example,
with difference of opinion. Someone gave
differences of opinion
fatwas.
For sure. Differences of
opinion.
I
want the principles and the soul of da'wah out of social media and how they've been adapted.
Okay, the concept of not speaking over the voice of your local imam, of the local imam when you visit that locale. Yeah.
So now you're saying
that's the principle of fiqh.
Okay.
Yeah. Right?
Okay.
That is a matter which is from the principles of da'wah. Why? Okay. Because you're not there to detach the people on the ground from the imam who will deal with their daily issues. You're there to complement his role. Right? Okay. And that's why what I try to do when I visit places, especially if it's for the weekend courses, etc., I try to visit some of those over time who have become known to their community to be responsible with knowledge in their religious affairs, to share with them the notes that I'm going to teach. Unless I know we are aligned and have previous relationship with them. Share with them, this is the course we're doing. These are the notes we have. Please tell me what I can add into these notes to complement your efforts here. Yeah. And please tell me what I should avoid so that I don't bring your efforts into disrepute. This is
it could include like understanding or not teaching a school of thought which is alien to that area.
Correct. If you go 100%, if you go to a place that is established upon a particular madhab and then you come and promote,
you teach fiqh in a completely different madhab, that's an issue, right?
You're not creating benefit, you're creating harm. Unless, look, today also, we talk about social media as part and parcel of the 21st century. Part and parcel of the 21st century is hold this academic approach to everything. You can read anything and everything
Okay,
you want.
excellent. I want you to talk about this.
I'm not reading another madhab for the sake of my relationship with Allah. I'm reading another madhab for the sake of being intellectually developed, right?
Yeah.
And today, subhanAllah,
have a nuanced understanding.
Nuanced, that you could call it that. That's what comes after. Shaitan uses it as a tool, I believe. That shaitan uses it as a tool. That a person becomes knowledgeable. Now he has a view. Now he wants to get into a gathering and produce his view, and this builds his brand clout in that community. That people say that, hey, this guy knows, right? So they'll ask him questions. They go, from my reading. All right, from your reading is one thing, but what is the consequence of what you say now?
What is the purpose of even having fiqh in the first place? To help people draw close to Allah.
Exactly, it's to assist your journey to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So and I'm going to highlight this again. People, I believe they're sincere. They're not going into these matters to produce harm. Right?
Okay, so you're saying everyone that goes, or technically we're going to assume,
but how many sincere people create harm? How many wars were started because of sincere words, sincere letters, sincere efforts? So it's not enough to be sincere. And that's why we have La ilaha illallah, which is the sincerity aspect. Then what? Muhammadur Rasul. You can't separate the two. Muhammadur Rasulullah is the how. Right? So you have the what, the why, and the how in one sentence. If you're going to detach the how from the why, which is the ikhlas, then anything can happen.
You know, another thing that another dynamic that has entered this space in maybe the last 50 years or so in the Western world is that mashayikh and du'at and stuff, they have to, at the same time as being true to what they know and giving da'wah and calling people and rectifying and transforming, they also have to be wary now, especially post-war on terror, of what the committee is going to say, of, you know, being scared to tackle certain subjects, especially, you know, terrorism and political subjects and that kind of stuff. And that's, I think, one of the driving forces behind social media kind of filling the vacuum. Because if a young person, imagine, you know, la qadar Allah, some terrorist attack happened, and the young person, you know, maybe he's confused or she's confused, they're concerned, how do we talk about this, or, you know, what does our deen say about this? And then they go to the masjid on that Friday and the khutbah is about something completely irrelevant. I mean, completely different to what they're feeling. Whether it's this, whether it's the LGBT stuff that's happening, whether it's, you know,
social media
elections, social media issues, drug abuse, knife crime, whatever things that the people are feeling and experiencing in their day-to-day life, they feel that, you know, the mosque's not talking about this. And one of the reasons is that poor Imam, he's scared because the committee said, don't talk about anything political, don't talk about anything.
Yeah, I mean, you are right. And just to complete, this takes us back to the earlier point that I said, that when I'm meeting imams and so on and so forth, I'm telling them that, look, guys, I mean, you've highlighted a valid issue. Maybe that's what's putting them back. And I always try and have good thoughts in them.
But you're not, see, the issue here is that you've kind of blanket, like I was playing devil's advocate, I was doing it on social media. You've kind of done it with all the imams. You've kind of just said that every single imam that gives a khutbah, it's not his fault. He's just worried because the committee. Maybe it's not. Maybe the imam doesn't have the drive himself. Maybe he's not actually qualified. Or maybe he doesn't want to do it.
I want to highlight that, look, Imam Fulan, this is the reality of social media.
I know him.
You need to understand it. You need to understand its dynamics. You need to understand what harm it's bringing to your community. You need to understand that you will not censor the most followed shuyukh online from speaking over your voice. They have their own. They have found enough precedence for whatever reason to justify what they do. And fiqh can have differences of opinion, so they've justified what they're doing. And one of those justifications is you are not doing your job on the ground, right? So you need to up your vernacular, you need to up your presentation skills, you need to perhaps get onto social media as well and be part of the solution. You need to educate your community about social media. Like you're saying, do we have khutbahs out there talking about social media and the harms of social media? Do we have khutbah? You spoke about the LGBT issue. Many people are looking for guidance on it. You know, I have questions from impressionable youth who are saying that I listened to a lecture of Fulan and he said that I respect your right to be A, B, C, D, E. All right? I respect your right to be. So he's an impressionable young person, right? He's on social media. He's not very learned. So he's saying, how do I morally, I'm having a moral dilemma. How do I morally how do I morally govern this or frame this? That how can I respect someone's right to choose to be A, B, C, D, E when I know that doing that is hated by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I'm having a moral dilemma here, right? So what's happening now is us guys, our words, shaitan is using them to even assist people, right? To succumb to these issues. I'll just give you one example. I'm not going to say people, so people don't think it's widespread, but everything starts and then it flowers in abundance, right?
It starts small and then
it starts small and grows. If I am to say that I respect your right to do A, B, C, D, someone can translate that as a difference of opinion. So maybe they're in it, but they're guilty because they fear the Lord.
I think are we moving on to a different subject?
Yeah, but you're not supposed to say it so obviously and blatantly. It's supposed to be quite smooth.
No, because I want to finish the first subject.
No, but
let's finish this point and come to that. So we don't lose this point. This is unscripted indeed, huh? I can see that.
You're still learning.
No, I just wanted to
I'm making notes about your progress here. Adil, you're fired.
What were we talking about?
I don't know. Before can you rewind it?
No. Okay, sorry, Sheikh. Before you go on to the
LGBT
XYZ, LGBT and saying that.
I got the point. I got the point.
Oh, sorry. A B C D E F G.
A B C D E. A B C D E. Right. A B C D E. If he feels that it's a difference of opinion, that helps his dilemma, because if he knows he's doing wrong, but he's weak with it, at least he's got guilt. At least he'll ask Allah for forgiveness. At least he'll make dua to Allah to help him out of this test that he is in. Right? But if he feels, Sheikh Sajid answered a particular question in a way that makes me understand that this matter is a difference of opinion from a religious perspective, what happens? He uses that as a tool to believe that is our opinion, this is our opinion, I shouldn't even feel guilty for what I do. So we need to be especially careful how we address this. And this is also the message to the imams. You've got to upskill yourselves. You've got to look at what is trending in terms of topics in your society and deal with it so they don't have to go online. We haven't gone off the topic. We're still on the topic.
But Sheikh, going to this, right? So what I've gathered so much from our beneficial discussion at the moment is that basically we should be using social media. We should be on social media. Just because there's some bad apples or some things go wrong, it doesn't mean we completely negate ourselves from that platform and we can bring khair, right? But we need to learn our deen from a structure, in a structured way.
We need
and everyone's doing
social
khair.
media.
Okay, good. Now the thing is
the principles of social media.
The issues that you're talking about now.
Next Sheikh Sajid Umar's next article for Islam2nc.com.
We have the principles of fiqh, the principles of tafsir, the principles of hadith, the principles of social media.
Facebook.
That's good. We could do that. But then the imams are not discussing those issues, so it just justifies we need more.
But we shouldn't land
social
on the
media. We need more. We need. Are they?
No, look.
This one is.
Let us. We should be part of the solution, right? We should be part of the solution. So if we see that they not give them the benefit of the doubt, that they have a reason not to, and engage them too, right? Not everyone knows. Like you said, you're not on social media. But I'd like to ask you how you know about all the dramas on social media. I mean, I was meaning to ask that because you kicked off with it. You kicked off with it. Can I tell you a step I'm trying to use with my own with my own family? Let's go for it. In terms of, I cannot censor what's online. I can't.
I think you can.
Right? I can't. You can't censor.
I think there's some apps and stuff you can get that controls what comes up.
No, hold on. But what I'm saying is what fiqh view they have, what accounts come onto their news feed on social media. Even though I'm gonna go, I'm gonna go get onto social media to follow my dad's Facebook page. Yeah. Right. Good thing, but the harms outweigh that. So what do? No social media accounts for my children, at least till they get to their teens, and in a structured way.
That's what you think, Sheikh.
No, hold on. We have greater things than these issues, which is disbelief, for example. Right? But how do we bring up our kids to ensure with the vision of them passing away as believers? It's through the education process, right? So we got to also add to that education process what can help them get to the end with minimum turbulence as possible, right? So I don't leave them on YouTube. I don't leave them with internet access. I don't leave them with a smartphone. I don't leave them with access to the internet or television or a mobile device or a smart device in their rooms. They don't need it, right? And it's not, to be honest, this is just a personal application. I'm not saying it's one size fits all for all families. But in terms of how things are going, my children don't feel at a loss. They don't even see it as I'm losing out.
Yeah.
Is that because they don't know? Because maybe you currently live in Saudi Arabia.
Sometimes ignorance is a bliss.
So they wouldn't necessarily know.
They're busy playing in real life.
No. If you look at the stats, a lot of people from that region are online, right? But point in case, we have discussions about it, and we should have discussions about it. Right? We should have, even though they're 6 or they're 9 or they're 5, we shouldn't feel that, you know what, they are in a circumstance or situation where they're too little to know. I think this too little to know concept needs to be flushed out the window. They're not too little to know. At the end of the day, if you don't educate them, they will be educated. That's how it is, right? We know of consumer companies, commercial companies that go to psychologists to help them design the advert.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? For your children. For your children.
Decades.
So there's a science out there.
Yeah.
I mean, today, we all not that old, but back in the day, giving benefit of the doubt to television programs, I don't think they were pushing this agenda of disrespecting your parents. I don't think they were pushing an agenda of creating generation gaps between you and your parents and your grandparents. I don't think so. But today we have that.
20 years ago, maybe 15, 20 years ago, I think Sue Palmer, who wrote Toxic Childhood, she did she analyzed Nickelodeon for 2 weeks. She said this was one of the consistent themes of painting the parent out to be some kind of villain or backwards character that you have to overcome, and the child is a protagonist, parent is an antagonist.
There you go.
So there you go. A lot of this stuff.
You know, this live and let live.
I want to get past the social media issue. I know Adil is a bit kind of obsessed with that.
But I mean, we should get past it, framing it. So
we're past it. I just wanted it to be a clear answer to the question, so everyone's clear when they're listening.
You know, sign up to islampreneur.com/Facebook.
So solution. So for me personally, I try and mitigate the harm. We can't censor them, but we can limit their access to the harm, right? We can work on closing the generation gap concept, right? That they should have a life with their grandparents. They shouldn't. If they don't feel that the grandparents are backwards, then they won't feel that their parents are backwards, right? We should have these discussions. It shouldn't be that they're too young to learn. We should kill this concept. Sit with them and say, look, son, look, daughter, you know, there's this thing called Facebook, there's this thing called Instagram, there's this thing called this. Yes, talk to them about it.
Make sure you follow me and like me.
Maybe you're not on it now, or you don't know about it, but you will be introduced to it. These are the good points of it, but these are the harms, you know? And don't just discuss the harms as a pie in the sky kind of concept like many parents do. I feel that they just talk to them talk to them about the point in passing. We shouldn't do that. We should engage them that, look, after dinner or next week or tonight, let's sit down and working on some of these harms.
Yeah, see, the issue is that I don't think there is
guidance into some of these harms.
I don't think we even know the harms really ourselves yet.
No, we do.
I think the harms are quite clear, to be honest. If you haven't realised some harms are clear,
but we don't know when are you gonna the real impact of social media. I mean, there's a Professor Shoshana Zuboff. She wrote a massive book for 7-10 years of research. It's coming out soon in the UK. I think it's out in different countries already. It's called Surveillance Capitalism. Professor Shoshana Zuboff, probably didn't pronounce it wrong, but I think the new digital age, social media and other things, she calls it. She puts it under the umbrella of something called surveillance capitalism. Right? I think this is something maybe in 50 years' time, 100 years' time, fuqaha and historians of fiqh will say this is something that now we know is completely, a massive.
No, I think fuqaha now, look, even we talk about Bitcoin and all this, everything that comes into the market.
But the thing is, this is a whole different landscape, a whole different political ideology.
Of course.
Landscape.
But I agree with you in terms of the point being that anything that is new needs time to develop itself and found itself, establish itself, should I say, before you're going to provide a fiqh ruling to it. But I mean, from my perspective, from my perspective, being in the field of fiqh and usul, and I would like to say that I have, after almost 2 decades of this, have an ability with the science. Me personally, I feel the harms outweigh the benefits. I feel the harms outweigh the benefits, and we should or personally, my application with it is my children don't need to be on there. They don't need to learn from me on there either. And if they go online, to be honest, I've had to say this, and I hope it's not controversial, but I've said to them, you're not allowed to learn from any sheikh online besides Sajid Umar. I've had to say this.
So sheikh, it's one thing to say the harms outweigh the good, right?
The harms in my book.
I mean, I'll probably agree. I think anyone who sits down and looks at this in a fair way, they'll think, well, look how many harms. But the problem is, it's inescapable for a vast number of people, especially young people. They're already in it.
Yeah, they are.
So practically, what do you advise they do?
Right. Firstly, in terms of the parents who are upbringing young kids who are going to get into it.
Prevention is better than
prevention. And the greatest way to prevent is to educate. We shouldn't keep them uneducated or keep them
a proactive approach
in a bubble.
No, teach them. Introduce it to them before someone else introduces it to them.
Exactly, proactive approach.
You, the parent, is the most sincerest person over their child, over his or her child. Yeah. There's no one who wants a child to succeed sincerely greater than the mother and father. You need to lead the discourse, right? Along with the imam. The imam needs to work with the parents, and the parents need to work with their children. The imam needs to work with the influencers, and the influencers need to work with those within their sphere of influence. This needs to happen. And if you feel overwhelmed and you don't have the skills to manage this matter, stay away from it. Prevention is better than cure. Prevention is better than cure. Like I said, me personally, my children, look, going online is part and parcel of the age. There's a lot of benefit, as we said. If they go online, it has to be monitored so that the efforts online are in the sphere of the benefit. If they're going to see, like you said, you listen to a lecture and another lecture comes up, like you were saying earlier. So happens.
I think
Sheikh Fulan's lecture comes up. I can't guarantee what Sheikh Fulan says.
I think if they're listening to Islamic lectures, I think that would be a place where a lot of parents would love for their kids to be.
True.
I think that's like kind of the cream of the crop when it comes to Muslim young people that are online and stuff.
But also, you must remember, we can't guarantee what the Sheikh is saying these days. And this is a real harm out there as well.
Yeah, but Sheikh, the problem with that is that now we're going to go into this bubble, or we're going to get really paranoid, and all of a sudden we're going to stop listening to the mainstream Mashayikh. We're going to stop listening to anyone.
What's mainstream Mashayikh? What's that?
Those and his friends.
No. Honestly, is it the Mashayikh who have the following?
Let's go.
Who are mainstream Mashayikh?
I don't know.
How do we have a definition?
No, let's go into that.
Is it because they have a DR in front of their name?
I'll group out the mainstream and someone else can say the mainstream. Forget that. If they're listening to people who love Islam and are encouraging people to follow Islam, generally speaking, that's like, I think, 0.1% of the, the Muslim social media space in terms of young people. I think most young people are following celebrities, actors, actresses, football stars, whatever. Right, professional YouTubers, vloggers, and that kind of stuff. Now, so you think prevention is better than cure, of course, inshallah. But what do you say to this person, for example? Someone came to me at my local mosque and said, "Look, can you speak to my kids?" And I'll ask you this question and get your advice, and I'll play him this video clip. I'll send him this clip. His daughter, for example, I think 15, 16-year-old, during GCSE's age. She was a star student, A stars. Then she got a phone, addicted to Instagram, Fortnite, and social media. Not with girls much. Fortnite is more with boys, I think.
What's Fortnite?
I don't know.
I don't know if it's for boys or for girls, but I know it is an issue.
Anyway, she's now her grades are slipping. He's worried. She's like, he was like, she was going to go to be a doctor and all this kind of stuff. And he's saying, look, she's addicted to this stuff and I don't know what to do. Can you come and speak to my kids?
Look, firstly, the scenario you just laid out, it upsets me. All right? And this is fundamentally what's happening. And you know me, I'm trying to create ignited communities that benefit humanity. And I think the reason why the social media discussion is going on and on and on is because it is a real issue. Yeah. And to be honest, in my effort, the greatest enemy of me achieving what I want to achieve is social media. The dopamine addiction, the lack of focus, the lack of concentration, the inability to focus, the inability to concentrate. I haven't seen a generation more capable than millennials and the generation after them. They are so intelligent, they are so informed, they're part of the internet age. They have so much ambition, so much desire to achieve. They're achieving things at such a young age. Look at the sports people entering the sports realm at a young age. They're competing with people twice their age, right? However, there's one big flaw with the millennials and the generation after them. It's their inability to recognize and appreciate hard work to achieve something great. They dream of greatness, but they don't have the tools needed to achieve it. They have it, but it's being polluted by its biggest enemy, and that is social media. Right? And I feel this is why we're going round and round this discussion, because personally for me, it's something I've thought about a lot. You've read on it a lot, right? This whole dopamine addiction, it's a pollution. It's a pollution. Alcohol is haram. From a fiqh perspective, we need to look closely at dopamine and the harms that it's creating. It's creating grades to slip. It's creating people who are addicted to the next headline. They cannot appreciate hard work. They cannot appreciate it. They want something at the click of a finger. So even though they have the most ambition, the greatest ambition, they probably will achieve the least. Illa ma rahim Allah. Except those that Allah showers His mercy upon, and they will be the minority, as is always the case. I was reading this research on paper schools, right? And how the best of the best industry leaders in terms of information technology and the social media and so on and so forth, they send their children to paper schools until they're mid-teens, right? Why? To teach, for them to develop upon respect for process and for progress to happen. There has to be process, right? Transformation cannot happen with mere movement, right? So they have to flick through the dictionary and search for that letter and the next letter and then to get the word. That needs time. That is process. Now it's just
and you'll
Google,
learn a few words
and
along
you
the
learn
way.
a few words along the way, right? Even now in Islamic research, when we talk about our, when we look, he asked about Ibn Taymiyyah and Ghazali earlier, right? Yeah. When you look at their writings and you think to yourself, subhanallah, they were writing and quoting from sources that they had no search engine. They were manuscripts. Yeah. Imagine what process they were putting in just to reach information. Sometimes you have to read entire volumes. Before you actually get to the information you want. Sometimes you finish the volume and say, subhanallah, nothing in this book. Let me go to the next. Now I use a search engine and I can search 15,000 books at the push of a button. Within seconds it will tell me which book to go to, which page to go to. Right?
Isn't that advancement? Isn't that progression?
That is advancement. However, we need to realize now that it also has a side effect. There is a side effect. And we're focusing on producing ignited communities that benefit you. And we should be as the communities of La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. We should be. Right?
Remember in a podcast with Dr. Uthman Latif a few years ago, we were discussing this in terms of how societies in the last 100, 200 years moved from what he called an ideas-based society to an ideals-based society to an image-based society, and a text-based society to an image-based society. In that people and the type of profession that young people wanted to be that were respected in society. Maybe 2 generations ago, teacher, professor, even doctor. But now kids want to be. I want to be like a YouTube star. I want to be a footballer. I want to be an actor, whatever. Yeah. Because they don't see all the hard work and graft that's put into becoming even.
Let me share with you something.
Star.
I was approached by someone with, and they listed the ambition to go and study in Saudi, right? They want to go to Medina University. Can you help me get there? I have a habit of asking why. People say, Sheikh, can you write me a recommendation letter? Why I want to study? Why do you want to study? But that's a different discussion. Once I received an answer to say, because I like to travel. You're laughing, wallahi. This hurt me, wallah. And I'm telling you, I'm saying
hoping that he had a sense of humor, Sheikh.
No, he was serious.
He wanted to travel so he could depart knowledge. He wanted to travel so he could give knowledge in different lands and guide people.
Now you're giving people the benefit of the doubt. Where was that earlier in the podcast?
He's still learning his first day.
He was serious. I like to travel because he's online. He sees Sheikh Fulan, he's traveling. Maybe he got an upgrade, so he took a selfie. I'm here. Then he's in this restaurant, so he put it in. So some of our behavior is harmful. It's changing images, right?
I mean, it's a good lifestyle, right? You fly from country to country. It's practically going holiday, like a holiday. You get driven around.
It's
you
holy
get
days.
really
It's
nice,
holy days, brother.
Nice food. You get gifts and stuff, and you give some lectures.
Yeah, but this is
it looks
from
like
the
a really
ills.
good career to go into, to be honest.
Look. Yeah, well, that's what's happening.
Career.
He thinks of it as a career.
Is it a
and
career
that's the
though?
first thing I thought. He sees it as a career. I want to travel. Let me go study. And that's what will happen.
But it's better than him becoming a financial analyst in a bank, no?
Well, that's a bit of a harsh
Just
comparison.
put that Hadouken or something like that. What is that?
That was for me, right?
That was against you, bro.
Again, what?
Yeah.
Look, just to continue closing off the framework of the discussion, the harms outweigh the goods. There's too much facade happening, right? And we're talking our discussion was based on the receiver. We need a whole podcast on the giver.
What
Sajid Umar's issues.
I was trying to discuss both, but yeah.
What should that person who has said his daughter is addicted to social media? So how would you round off your advice to him? Or
you know what?
that family?
That's a difficult situation. And Jazakallah for bringing it up because I forgot. And it's difficult because it's not something you're going to fix overnight.
Yeah.
And this is the other issue with the social media issues. Their effects are long term, right? When Sheikh Fulan goes online and speaks over my imam's voice, right? And contradicts my imam. I don't see it as contradiction. I see him as him being more clever than my imam, more special than my imam, more apt than my imam, more yo, as you were saying earlier, more yo than my imam. What that has long-term harms.
Yeah.
You know, how are you going to fix that, right? And that person on the ground, when he has issues and he sees you, Mr. Online Sheikh, as my imam, he's going to write to you and you're not going to respond to him, right? Ibn Daqiq al-Eid said, I never said anything about Islam. He was a major scholar, except that I prepared my answer for Allah on the day of Qiyamah before I said it. What about the social media age and the stuff we say and do, right? As I said, fiqh of da'wah. If you're asking about us guys who are giving it online, fiqh of da'wah. Don't say something for the sake of saying it. Don't say something forgetting that you are speaking on a global platform. Everyone is going to see what you're saying. Don't say something in a way where you come across as the Pope of the religion. You're not under one caliphate, right? There's multiple madhabs, there's multiple views. You speaking online, shouting over voices of imams are going to have long-term harms. The sister you're talking about, whose grades are dropping, these are from the other ill effects of social media. They have long-term harms. There's nothing you can say to a parent that will be a quick fix for them, right? They need rehab. Let's be honest.
Yeah. They need coaching.
They need coaching. They need rehab. That's what's needed.
I think there's a really good podcast, big discussion from one of the Islam 2C big discussions, which talked about social media and talked about the issues. Mike again, right? So social media in terms of how do we approach the new generation and how do we tackle those issues, right? And one of the key things was that you need to engage with your children and really find out what they're doing on social media or on their phones, and really tackle the issues. Because I don't mean to judge, but the sister here could actually just have a really good relationship with a friend, or might have a strong liking with an individual, and that's distracting them from the grade. No. I'm just saying. Look, you have to put context to the situation.
He's
and the reality is that Sheikh, with all due respect, she's not going to be watching videos if her grades are dropping of Moshai. She's going to be watching other things, right? And those other things is about the parents actually engaging with her, finding out what's actually going on, and putting some barriers in between there so you can compromise. There's no like right or wrong in terms of, we're taking your phone away. They're just going to rebel even more. That doesn't work.
That's true.
You need to have some
she needs coaching. She needs rehab.
She needs coaching. But from the parents' point, this is what I said in Birmingham at the Open Forum, the Youth Social Discussion Forum. Keep them away from all the stuff. If you need to contact them, give them a dumb phone. Yeah. Right?
3210.
Yeah, give them a dumb phone.
Do they still exist?
If you want to educate them about the deen, structure. Yeah. Structure. Right? The Quran came down with structure. The deen came with structure. Education in all its realms comes with structure. Online is random. If any parent is serious about their child learning about the deen, don't think social media is going to give it to them. It's not. Right? So that's a moot point. If you're going to say, I'm going to give him or her the phone so she can follow Sheikh Fulan, that is a moot point. Follow Sheikh Fulan for what? You want them to learn? They're not going to learn.
Yeah, but Sheikh, let's be honest, I don't think anyone really does that, right? They don't give a fuck.
Some
I think that's what their parents do.
have this. Some parents that I'm not saying
that's what the parents are probably doing.
That is naivety, right? I mean, in today's age,
they don't know
a
better.
parent to give their child a phone and go, I'm giving you this phone because it's going to bring khair, because you're going to learn the deen from it.
Yeah, but if there's khair and harm, and the harms outweigh the khair, يَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الْخَمْرِ وَالْمَيْسِرِ قل فيهما إثم كبير ومنافع للناس
That's why
وإثمهما أكبر من نفعهما. Allah says they ask you about alcohol and gambling, right? Tell them, O Muhammad, O Messenger, فيهما إثم كبير. There's great sin in them both and benefit for mankind. وإثمهما أكبر من نفعهما. But its sin is greater than its harm. Its negatives are its negatives are greater than its positives.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that is the baseline evidence for this principle I shared with you.
And I think one day the ulama will start to apply these things, Allahu Alam, to social media.
I they apply them already? I think they already are, no?
I think
no, like biljazm, even more.
To say it's haram.
Yeah,
Pass the fatwa and say it's haram.
Hindsight, they're going to say what a massive...
yeah, but it wouldn't be blanket haram. In my mind, it would be haram for people of a particular pedigree of understanding of the social media world, of a certain age, and so on and so forth. Right? But that's a different discussion. But one of the things I did say in Birmingham, and you highlighted it, monitor your children's phones. There's software, you pay an amount a month, and you have access to seeing which sites they visited, which pictures they downloaded, who they're interacting with, and so on and so forth. And the only reason why I know about it is because I try and encourage this implementation when we're trying when we're trying to coach people off pornography, for example, or off music, for example, right? So some youth, we try and coach them off these things. So one of the tools is for me to have access to the phone. How? Via this software. Right?
So you do this like as in this is one of your ways you help the community, that those who have those issues, they come to you.
Why not? Why not? To some parents who say, Sheikh, we can't do this to our kids because we need to trust them. I say trust them by all means, but don't trust shaitan. Don't trust shaitan. Inna shaytana lakum aduwwun fattakhidhuhu aduwwa. Allah says indeed shaitan to you is an enemy. So take him, a command, take him as an enemy. So take him as an enemy, right? Shaitan has social media as a tool in which he completes his objectives, right? So trust your child, don't trust shaitan. And I've seen patterns in this. Patterns. Okay. So, some of the youth who fall into pornography, right? It starts with listening to a particular genre of music. They spend hours on these music websites, and it pushes hours. Allah knows best how the science is. I'm not saying there's hidden words. I'm not going to try.
So you're saying particular genre of music.
Particular genre of music. This I don't know the names.
Not
of
nasheeds
it,
or anything.
Right? But nasheeds aren't music, right?
Like, what is it? Is it
hip hop
or rap? Wallahu alam. They listen to this particular genre for hours, and then what happens suddenly? The online realm is like that, where a picture is pitched to you, and at that moment of your desires are heightened. You see a picture of a female,
or whatever.
And then you want to that, so that pushes you to explore something, right? And now it's a Google shot. Maybe it's the algorithms that's bringing these images.
The algorithms are geared towards increasing time spent on site. They don't care about your mental health.
So are we saying the algorithms are taking them from music into pornography?
Absolutely,
right?
Absolutely.
Right?
Depending on...
I mean, music nowadays, if you come across hearing music when you're in the shopping centres or you're out and about, it's lewd. It's got so much like wrong, like haram, really bad lyrics.
And you won't have you'll rarely find a music video without all kinds of nudity and that kind of stuff as well. It's become normalized, desensitized.
There you go. So now they get into obviously.
So I've heard, I read in a book somewhere.
Yeah, well, look, it's out there.
For research.
It's out there. It's out there. What happens is then you get the softcore pornography, then the hardcore pornography. Right at the moment, even some imams engage me with regards to this issue. Can we allow people that we're trying to, through rehab, get them out of hardcore pornography? We need, some of the science says they should utilize their time watching softcore pornography, whatever that means. So can we allow them to watch, listen to this. Hey, look, this is the age we're in.
Obviously, we need to put a disclaimer there. Obviously, this is specific situation.
No, this is a question.
Specific
I'm not giving any answers.
This is a question. The Sheikh is just giving an example. Don't take this as a blanket fatwa.
Do not try this at home.
Don't try this.
Definitely do not try this at home,
Right.
please.
Or even anywhere else.
Right. So can we allow? This is a question I've received.
yeah.
Can we allow them to watch softcore to train them out of the hardcore stuff, and then so this is how
Similar to giving a drug addict lower and lower doses. I
Oh,
suppose.
so actually on that point, you know, I've got a friend who owns a pharmacy, and I was visiting him actually, and
I'm glad it's on that point.
and he was explaining that basically the NHS have a like a campaign that
To replace heroin addiction.
yeah, so basically
Yeah.
addicts come into the pharmacy and they take drugs.
They take
the drugs, they get
what's it called again?
the high.
I don't know. Methadone.
Methadone? Okay, yeah.
Then
Wherever
they get
they take-
methadone addiction.
and then they leave. And I said, well, why would you be doing that? Surely you shouldn't be giving them any drugs. And he said, no. So basically the campaign is that you give them less and less strength of the drugs so that you can wean them off.
Yeah, it makes sense. Look,
I mean, a cynic would
makes
say
sense.
it's because you can tax it and you can sell it legally and that kind of stuff. That's all.
Well, look,
It's all about the bottom
it
dollar,
makes sense,
bottom
and
line.
I didn't take the question as a joke. It's a serious question. Now, I'm not going to answer that question here,
Yeah.
and I haven't put the answer
No,
that I
no.
shared online because I think it's a case for case, and I would need to be presented the case and look into the person, and because I need to be convinced that this approach will work.
That's something rare.
Because-
That's something rare in today's
No,
day and age.
rare?
No, in terms of fatwa sites and
Oh yes,
programs.
but it
To say, I'm not going to ask this question, but call in. This requires a detailed.
and this is another thing
fatwa.
when we talk about social media.
Yeah.
There's some fatwas that are they are
Shouldn't be asked in public.
jurisdictive by approach. There's
Yes.
jurisdiction. There's some fatwas that shouldn't be open, should be
Yeah.
closed, should be specific, right? Should be specific. So this is a matter that I answer on a case per case because I got to be convinced that the lesser of the two evils here, because that's what it is. You gotta.
You have to look at the person.
Look at the
Yeah.
person and appreciate that the application of the lesser of the two evils rule in his or her case is going to take them
Yeah.
out of all evil, right? But again, when I know this, why should I give the benefit of the doubt to social media or to my child scrolling online before he goes to bed? When you got shaitan working against him, you got algorithms that are designed with their own objectives working there as well. I haven't trained him up to appreciate all these harms, right? You don't send your child into the jungle, but you give him a phone and you give him access to a jungle without teaching him stuff.
It's more dangerous.
So a lot of education needs to happen. And kudos to you guys that you're addressing the topic. I believe you've done some khutbahs on it. I was informed by
also-
somebody in Riyadh, by the way.
Riyadh.
Yes, there's a Dr. Salman who shared a
Facebook.com/.
who shared a khutbah dealing with the stuff or a series of lessons in different places in the UK. I said, I know the brother, may Allah bless him and give him strength, and that's what's needed. And you need to perhaps bring in imams and train them in a structured way about this.
Yeah.
Since you're reading on it in depth.
Mashallah, there's an article by Ustad Abu Hanifa Sohail on Islam 21C about social media ills. I forgot the title of it, but we'll put it in the description as well, inshallah. And maybe this summer when you come back, inshallah, we're gonna thinking to have this as one of the topics that we discuss,
Inshallah.
maybe possibly with
with the wider community.
Yeah, inshallah. I just want to change gear a bit. Well, you mentioned a few minutes ago about, I think you're obviously alluding to people giving answers with regards to, how as Muslims, as a minority, how do you deal with LGBT issues and campaigning and activism and that kind of stuff. And you were alluding to someone who was saying, not by name, but they were saying, I agree with your right to do X, Y, Z. Can you give some background to what that was about?
Yeah, so look, nothing should be mentioned for the sake of mentioning it. We should only mention it if there is a need to.
Well, there's clear need.
Right? There's a clear need.
I'm
interested. I mentioned it because it actually happened.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm interested in some of the fiqh that's going through your mind.
Well, first let's look at the dilemma.
Yeah.
With the end user, you got social media, you got end user. So someone in a discussion somewhere else in another land, a question was coined and they answered. They said, yes, I respect your right to do what you want. To do A, B, C, D, E.
Respect your right. I agree to your right. I respect
but true, no doubt, the person who said it he does not agree with it. We're not trying to, scrutinize the statement from that angle. What we're saying is our words have consequences. Especially if you, quote unquote, a da'i, you call shaykh and mashayikh online, or you have a beard and you dress with a thobe, and people see you as a responsible avenue for their salvation. And that's the reality.
So taking a step back.
So if I don't choose my words properly, and it can be interpreted in a way that helps the end user follow his or her desires, then I'm not doing da'wah, I'm doing something else. Right? Okay. There's a difference between, and I'll say it to you as it is. The question that came in, I have a moral dilemma, right? With the statement that I respect your right to do that act. So like, how can I respect someone's right to do that act when I believe in one Allah who forbids that act? And I said, all right, so where did you get this from? He says, I listened to a lecture from Sheikh Fulan, and Sheikh Fulan said this.
Sheikh Fulan said
Sheikh
this?
Fulan said this. This is
you sure?
You should have words with this Sheikh Fulan.
Yeah. Sheikh Fulan said
I
this.
thought we need to cut his name out.
Sheikh Fulan or Sheikh Allan? One of the
Sheikh
two.
Okay. Them two are always getting in trouble.
One of the two. Yeah. Sheikh Fulan or Sheikh Allan. One of the two said this. So firstly, obviously, this concerned me. And this was a wake-up call for me as well. That subhanAllah, that somebody, is genuinely listening to the right sphere of social media, or they're listening to the genres and the information on the right sphere of social media, and they are getting information that's causing them to have a moral dilemma. Now, me personally, I'm always saddened with any of our youth having a moral dilemma, because I believe when you have moral dilemmas, intellectual dilemmas, social dilemmas, all this prevents you from focusing on you achieving your potential. Right? That's what it is. You can be the best doctor, but you just become a standard doctor because you spent time that could have been used in you becoming the best. Yeah. In deep thought about an issue that shouldn't be an issue, right? But it became an issue because maybe you lack knowledge about it, or maybe somebody made it an issue for you. Like in this particular case,
that issue itself, though, is a big issue.
It is.
I think the moral dilemma is beyond the statement of that one sheikh.
Of course,
in terms of Muslims living in, as minorities, for example, you have to acknowledge a legal right for the polytheist to worship an idol, right? I mean, legally. Politically, there's that issue.
So you respect. You respect.
Not saying respect or whatever, but there is a.
No, but in light of the statement, can it be said? I put it to you, Dr. Salman. I respect your right to have a choice. Right? Because I've also been pondering over this. That how can we better frame that? Because obviously the Sheikh didn't. This is what he meant, right? But it wasn't understood that way. Right? There's a difference between me respecting your right to do A, B, C, D, and respecting your right to have a choice. But what you've chosen, that's a different matter in terms of how I view it. Yeah. Right? But I respect your right to choose. Allah says, فَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيُؤْمِنْ وَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيَكْفُرْ. Whoever wishes, let them believe. Whoever wishes, let them disbelieve. Islam gives you a right to choose. لَا إِكْرَهَ فِي الدِّينِ. There's no compulsion in believing. Right? Right? But once you enter the fold, then there's rules and regulations, right? But you cannot force, and this was the way of the Sahaba after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this was many a time. This was on the tongue of Umar ibn Khattab radiyallahu anhu. I say on his tongue, I mean in his letters to his to his generals who are out, who are busy with Persia and busy with the Persians and busy with the Romans, right? This whole reminder, and no one is forced to believe. This is a right that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them. If this is the case with belief and disbelief, then sin, right?
What about as Muslims,
clearly applies to sin.
As a minority? Because it's easy to say, okay, when the Muslims are in charge of an area, you have to make sure the minorities who are not Muslim, you don't impose your way of life on them. Fair enough. Is the dynamic a bit different if the Muslims themselves are a minority?
No, if the Muslims themselves are a
minority.
So what someone's saying is, as a minority, does the situation change?
In what way?
In how we approach this issue.
No. This.
Because I've heard some people say, some du'at and stuff say, this whole thing about allowing things that are against Islam and being basically, if you have the upper hand and you show lenience and show tolerance of kind of a minority, that's a good thing, because you have the choice to be a tyrant, but you choose not to. But if you're in a position of weakness yourself, maybe speaking with the same language might reinforce the subjugation or the minorityness of.
But as a Muslim minority, how do you have the upper hand?
You don't.
You don't have the upper hand, right? You don't have the upper hand.
Yeah.
You don't have the upper hand. I think maybe you're talking about something else, that if you're a minority, aligning yourself with other minority efforts in order to get support, right?
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah,
Sorry,
I think that was the context that some of those brothers mentioned.
So you're saying that if
in terms of working with, for example, working with left-wing kind of activists against, prevent or against Islamophobia or against racism.
Or that would be better answered by the workers on the ground, the knowledgeable on the ground. That's jurisdictive, right? So because if I was here, then I would have to appreciate all the things that you mentioned to say. But generally, what I've understood from you is, let's say there's a particular group that's doing a particular haram.
Yeah.
And that is the nature of that group. But they're a minority, right? And we are a minority as well. So we as a minority, can we align with a group that's also a minority upon misguidance, right? To help our own cause. Is that what you're asking?
Or even go further one step, to say campaign for the other minorities' right to do what they're doing, because in doing so it'll protect our right to wear a hijab. Or
because obviously, just to put some context to that, is minorities, when they discuss issues and they come together, minorities usually stick together, right, against the majority. So what normally happens is that you have one minority cause, another minority cause, another minority cause. Then you end up usually going to the left. And when you do that, you have to be more accepting. You have to be willing to respect each other's differences
but on
and
whose
work
framework
together.
and guidelines? Because if you're a Muslim, right, your group has its own framework and guidelines. So we always have to go back to the framework and guidelines.
And which are?
There are plenty. There's plenty rules, plenty guidelines. You give me specific cases, and then we will benchmark the case that you share against the Muslim guidelines. Look, in terms of the Muslim minority discussion, again, that's better discussed by the scholars on the ground. But what I would say is, because fatwas are specific, but a fatwa has to look at the consequence of the fatwa. There's consequences. Some of the scholars of usul would talk about the mufti needing to appreciate three consequences of the fatwa he passes. Some have said 7. Some of the Malikis, if my memory serves me right.
You mentioned that last time.
That you have to look at, this is a content, this will happen, this will happen, this will happen, or this could happen and this could happen before you pass the fatwa. Because at the end of the day, you are speaking on behalf of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You are representing the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So, as general advice, right, to Muslim minorities in this dilemma, is think about the consequence of your action. Especially upon the Muslim community 20 years from now, 50 years from now. You need to have a vision, right?
Yeah.
Right? If you're a Muslim minority just doing things randomly, then there's a bigger problem we need to discuss here. Right? Whether to align or not to align, the fatwa of it will need to take into consideration the vision of the Imam who's passing that fatwa for his community. Right? So if you're going to sing Kumbaya, if I can put it that way, what is the consequence of holding hands and singing Kumbaya in this matter? May Allah guide you, Dr. Salman.
Ameen.
So
there you go, got a free dua there.
This is the advice I would give. Look at the consequences and don't be naive in terms of understanding these consequences and have shura.
Individual activists shouldn't be doing that, looking at those consequences themselves. They should be
attached to mashayikh. They should be attached to mashayikh. Like I was asked previously that, Shaykh, we have Muhammad Salah and all these Muslims, our brother Mu'een, our brother Muhammad, our brother Adil Rashid, Muslim sportsmen. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserve them in His obedience and protect them from the tests that come with the fame and being in these positions. Ameen. So, are they good? Are they a good thing or are they a bad thing? Because the bottom line is, if they sport a beard and they're in this field, people you know what? This is the age. This is the signs of the age that we're in. People see them as that they are helping us have the Muslim identity, and what they do is Islam. It's like a new Muslim. A new Muslim sometimes come. Not all new Muslims, but I've had experiences. Like new Muslim comes into Islam. They think jalebi is a Muslim thing.
Taban, of course.
Jalebi.
Right? No, but naturally they see the Muslims eating jalebi and biryani, so they've come into they feel, the dress, the food stuff, and so on and so forth. So what happens is sometimes a Muslim becomes prevalent in society because of his sports skill. He took a leather ball and chucked it, and mashallah, it's like rubbing the lamp, and then you had wishes. So
I think that's how cricket works.
Right. So, or he kicked a leather ball, and mashallah, he kicked it in a particular way. People started seeing him as a representative of Islam, whether they like it or not. That's the reality.
Yeah. Some common sheikhs, some mashaykh, they love these brothers, mashallah, for the sake of Allah. They like to watch them. They like to follow what they do, what their teams are doing, what they're performing.
We love our Muslim brothers and sisters for the sake of Allah. And that's
we're together. We never walk alone.
That's why I said red. When he told me red or blue, what do you say? Red or what?
Yeah, red or blue.
La hawla wa la quwwata. It can't be blue because that's Everton. It has to
Chelsea.
be Liverpool. Right?
It's not owned by Qatar also.
I think that's Man City.
Oh, okay. So
No.
Man
That's
City,
PSG.
UAE?
That's PSG. That's PSG.
PSG.
Okay.
Yeah. But it has to be red because you'll never walk alone. Barakallahu feek for that recognition.
You got one.
Thank you. But where were we? This unscripted. It's a lot of dopamine rushes. It's caused me to lose my focus.
Yeah, I think you're talking about Mo Salah.
Yeah. So the answer to that question is yes, we need them.
Yeah.
The age that we are in, they have reached to a people that we don't have reached to. Look at the studies on Muhammad Salah and how he's reduced Islamophobia in Liverpool because of kicking the leather ball in the back of a net, right?
Yeah.
So we're saying just because he's a good footballer, Islamophobia has gone down. So when he actually messes up or he misses a penalty in the final, will Islamophobia go up?
Well, that depends on the fans, but if you Liverpool fans,
but let's be honest, all fans are very fickle, right?
Very?
They're very fickle in terms of their left, right,
I thought you said they're specialists in fiqh. That's what I
Some of them are.
That's how it sounded here. But no, it depends on the club and the fans. And Liverpool have a history of having great fans. They stand. Where do you think "You'll Never Walk Alone" came from? Right? We stick to
I thought that was to do with one ummah and the fact that we're all united and the fact that we never leave our brothers and sisters.
Yeah, United.
You got that one. At least you picked that up.
Which one? You mean the Manchester United that gave a Eid Mubarak message on with the devil logo on the day of Eid?
The devils.
A'udhu billahi min ghadabi.
But how do you know that's what devils look like, Sheikh?
Oh, they call themselves the devil and they said this is the devil. I commented on that, by the way. Remember? I said Manchester United knows the reality of Eid. It's the day Shaitan is released. So they put on the image with the devil and said Eid Mubarak. It's like Shaitan is saying Eid Mubarak. But let's not go there. We don't want to digress too much because we might have some dua to support Manchester United refuting me, and it will become drama on social media, then it will become our next podcast.
The next scandal.
How sheikhs create harms on social media. But this whole point about minorities working with minorities, look at the consequences and look at the consequences long term, because Muslim leaders should have a long term vision for their communities, and we shouldn't feel that we have this, even this Muslim minority thing, it shouldn't put us in an inferiority complex mindset, right? We have enough character in Islam, we have enough evidence in the Quran and the Sunnah that the one who is righteous, then Allah will take care of his or her affairs.
But it does play a part in fiqh, right?
It does, because, and this is what I'm saying, we should never ever put ourselves in a situation where we make Allah unhappy with us, because if we do, I'm not trying to simplify, somebody might say Sheikh Sajid is oversimplifying, or you spent too long in Saudi, or so on and so forth. Let's just get down to let's get down to the crux of the matter. The crux of the matter is وَهُوَ يَتَوَلَّى الصَّالِحِينَ. Allah takes care of the righteous. The crux of the matter is وَلَوِ اتَّبَعَ الْحَقُّ أَهْوَاءَهُمْ لَفَسَدَتِ السَّمَاوَاتُ وَالْأَرْضُ وَمَنْ فِيهِنْ. If the truth suffers an identity crisis, corruption will fill the heavens and the earth and everything in between.
If the truth were to follow their desires.
I'm just giving it a 21st century translation. If it were to follow their desires, if it was to have an identity crisis.
Feel inferior and try to imitate others.
Exactly. So, you know, and you spoke earlier, what advice can you give the 16-year-olds and all these people going through all this, or all the social media difficulty? وَهُوَ يَتَوَلَّى الصَّالِحِينَ. Allah takes care of the righteous. The parents need to bring Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala into their parental process. How do you do that? Well, the Salaf, some of the Salaf used to be asked that, you know, especially given how much they traveled and how busy they were, you know, how were their children raised well? And he said, we made our children work for Allah, so Allah took care of the dunya and akhirah. Right? So give your child a project that is Allah-centric, Jannah-centric, if I can use that term. Right? Give them a project that is pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so that will make them righteous.
Make them busy.
And
busy with
make them righteous. Let's focus in. Quran says, Allah takes care of the righteous. If Allah takes care of the righteous, give your children a righteous project. So Allah takes care of them. Right? This is the crux. Right? So even in your decision to work with minority groups, etc., I'm not saying, as I said, I'm not passing a fatwa because that is it's jurisdictive by nature. But the advice I would give my colleagues who look into this matter, in charge of communities are part of the sphere of influence. If you're going to make a decision, think long term. Do not do something now that will give our children 50 years from now an identity crisis. We talk about it, identity crisis.
I don't think you need 50.
Don't do anything that will do that. They'll say so and so was seen in, especially in this highly charged internet image-based world. Those pictures will be preserved, right? And they will see you marching with Fulan and Allah. We bring them back into the discussion. They're not only sheikhs; they have a lot of qualifications, right? And they will say, well, look, he did it, she did it, so this must be okay. I am telling you now, I have been in cases where people justify intermingling because of the way some Islamic institutions manage their programs. Remember, this is a fact. This is a fact. People look at fatwa for them is not what Sheikh said, what Islamic organization did. What Islamic organization did. This is it.
Adil, why have you got shifty eyes?
I just don't understand. What do you mean?
I spoke clear English. I'm not pointing fingers. Don't get me wrong. Did you do something wrong?
Did you host an event where there was intermingling?
Intermingling, sorry. What do you mean by intermingling?
So people see, for example, an Islamic function, and there was a dinner served, and everyone sat as they sat. They dressed as they dressed. So they said, khalas, my wedding will be the same. Why should my wedding be separated? Why should I segregate? Right? Good point. Fulan Institute, that's what they did.
Basically, we go Hajj and Umrah, we sit in a restaurant, we eat with our families on tables. So if we can do it at Hajj and Umrah, then why can't we do it at our weddings?
This is a level of education that certain people in our community have. Right? So they see your action as fatwa. Sheikh Fulan doesn't have to pass the fatwa, they see it. Right?
Actions speak louder than
Actions speak, well, the speed of light is faster than the speed of sound. People see you before they hear you, right? So
that's true. That's a true fact.
That's the reality. So people, if they see Sheikh Fulan doing something questionable 50 years ago, they might use it as a base to make an Islamic decision then. And that could lead to them losing their identity. Take insurance, for example, right? And this is what I share with my fellow colleagues, that you guys, yes, you have precedence to say insurance is halal, because الحاجة تنزل منزلة الضرورة. This is a principle in fiqh, that if there's a need that is at a communal level, it encompasses the community, then the Sharia raises it to the level of necessity. It's not just a need, it's a dire necessity. And something at the level of dire necessity makes haram halal. Like, for example, eating the meat of a dead animal if you're going to die as a result of not eating it, right? Or drinking alcohol if someone puts a gun to your head. It's either die or drink the alcohol. The Sharia relaxes the laws and facilitates it. So yes, insurance may be permissible in a community because of a circumstance as an exception, not as a base rule. It's important when we preach that fatwa that the community understands, or we've left enough words for people to understand that it is an exception. So that 50 years from now, nobody sees it as a base rule for them to build other rules for Islamic transactions from. You can see what will happen. They'll say, well, there's ambiguity in insurance, and insurance is halal, so this has ambiguity, but it's similar to insurance. So can you see the dangers? This is the responsibility on the shoulders of, quote unquote, the Moshai. Right? what words we leave will have consequences. So this is the advice I have in terms of what you just said, in terms of minorities working with minorities. Whether we say allowed or not allowed is a side point. My advice is understand the consequences well, and don't be naive about it. Do not have an inferiority complex. Hold steadfast to وَهُوَ يَتَوَلَّى الصَّالِحِينَ, that ayah. And hold steadfast to the ayah teaching us that if you allow the haqq to have an identity crisis, you're only going to have corruption. There's no khair from it. Allah is telling you the harm. So focus on that point. What I do now, will it bring an identity crisis to what is right and what is wrong? If yes, there's no goodness in it, irrespective of how many benefits people can place in front of you.
Very important lesson, Barakallah Feek, Sheikh. I mean, there's a lot of the times, many of us, brothers and sisters, we just wander into this cooperation or that activity, not knowing not thinking through the vision and the broader scheme of things.
Look, Shaitan is happy to put you in a vortex of a lot of khair, where you think you're doing good, but you're doing it in a way that displeases Allah. It's not enough to do good. You got to do it the right way. La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. It all boils down to the article of faith, right? You're doing good, but you got, even our sisters, for example, they come and help, mashallah, our organizations, Islamic efforts, right? My message to them is, did you discuss this with your husband? Did you discuss it with your father? Or did you just leave the home and take it for granted?
Yeah, subhanAllah.
We're not trying to say, we're imprisoning women or whatever, in case somebody hears the podcast and say Sheikh Sajid is advocating A, B, C, D, E. I'm just speaking hard facts. Did you leave the home taking it for granted, or did you, because you left home to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, did you take care of what is pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?
Yeah, basic logic. Yeah. Anyway, I'm very keen to get you fed now. Alhamdulillah, we've been talking for a while, and inshallah, you're licking your lips. Everyone's very hungry. I was just wanting to ask you, do you have any last question for Adil? How do you think he's done first day?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think Omar personally has any.
I think Adil did. I think Adil's a natural.
MashaAllah.
Yeah, I think we can turn that 9 out of 10 to a 10 out of 10. But I think that's disrespectful. Because the Sheikh's talking and you laughing at him. Okay. Tarbiyah, right? Tarbiyah. Adil, I still give you a 9. I think you asked a relevant question. You cut me up a bit here or there. But that's
all for the sake of the discussion, inshallah.
Khalas, for the sake of Allah.
If you cut
which would obviously be for the sake of Allah, for being on this podcast.
If you cut
not
the
for becoming famous or gaining more followers on my new Facebook page, which is coming out soon.
MashaAllah, Jameel, you're opening one, huh?
No.
But you're old enough.
It's Facebook /Omar Suleiman part 2.
Age plays a part.
So Facebook.com /Omar Suleiman stand-in. This can be your alter ego, inshallah.
I just want to say, as call it a disclaimer, we discussed a lot, right? But we discussed it over tea, and it's just a general chat.
But you didn't actually drink any of your tea, though.
I did drink some. You didn't see. You didn't see. I was being quenched by the discussion. I just want to say that a lot was said, but nothing that was said in a black and white way or in an absolute way. It was a mere discussion based on the paradigm in my mind, and there is scope to further the discussion, and I'm happy to engage with our listeners.
Excellent. Jazakallah khair, Sheikh.
Barakallahu feek.
Jazakallah khair at home or wherever you are listening. If you like that podcast, give it a like and a share. Comment in the comments underneath. Inshallah, Sheikh Sajid Umar will be joining us in the discussion.
But basically, you're asking them to manipulate the algorithm.
Manipulate algorithms for
likes and shares.
For Muslims.
For the sake of Allah.
And the dawah for a change. If you like this. So if you like, give it a like and a share. If you didn't like it, or let us know how Adil did in his replacement duties of Umar Suleiman. Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Unscripted.